Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release, bridging the gap between arcade, console, computer, and handheld video games. Welcome everyone to October 1982, where we were last checking out Amoeba Attack Wars. Let's see what our next game is. Our next release brings us to the United Kingdom on our Sinclair ZX Spectrum. This is Android Nim. Another Nim game? Has anyone ever heard of Nimrod? It was one of the very first Nim-style games, but Nim video games have been around since 50s, 60s, I believe. This one was originally a type-in game, part of the Cambridge Color Collection. Look at all that color! 20 programs that were type-in programs from the book, and then I think it was later released as a commercial release as a combo. But we're going to play the very first one you could play, typing in Android Nim. This is by Richard Francis at Altwasser. Published by Cambridge Color Collection at sometime at the beginning of October or whenever you typed it in 1982. It's Android Nim. If you're expecting something different, it's pretty much just going to be Nim. Nim's a game for two. Your partner is the Spectrum, which means you can't play with a friend. Sorry. You take turns at removing any number of androids from one of 6 rows. The winner removes the last android. That's right. It's Nim. And there's all our androids. Aren't they adorable? Oh, now it randomly picks who goes first, and it looks like the Spectrum does their first move, and they're going to be selecting the androids. Oh, well, look at that. That's animation for it. It's lighting up every android. They're moving eyeballs and arms. So they got some kind of presentation. I mean, bear in mind, most of the games we play with Nim, it's just, things on the screen. But Android, and in fact, Android Nim, we've already seen, I think, 2 other versions here on the show. But, I mean, there's countless Android Nim games. All right, which row were you attacked? Type the number followed. Okay, so let's go with row 6. Oh my gosh. So even though I selected row 6, it's going to animate every single alien? What a time waster. I'm sure Nim is already a time waster, but this is really wasting time if they're going to animate every single one. And then how many do you want to remove? Just the only one. Get rid of that alien. It sounds like we're signaling dogs again here on Chronologically Gaming. Now it's the Spectrum's move. You wait for them to do their turn. So yeah, it's pretty much Dim, but now it has a fresh coat of more animated aliens than we've ever seen. This might be the most animated, colorful version of Nim we've played here on the show. I mean, granted, most of them were, from the 70s, and they're all in black and white. But, I mean, you take what you can get. It is a type-and-style game. Not too much to see here. You have to wait a long time, way too long, for all the aliens to animate before you can finally do your turn. The ZX Spectrum's doing their move, and you can see you continue to go until you remove the last android. We will not wait for the last android because we don't have that kind of time. Of all the games you can be playing right now on a home computer, I mean, that's bad. Waiting too long for it to animate already to play some Nim, but you gotta admit, it's kind of charming the way they animated the aliens, but gameplay-wise, it's way down there. I'm gonna say 1 star everything so far. Brian's saying 2.5. I have the patience to wait that long if you think of everything we played thus far. There are faster versions and better playing versions of Android Nim here that we played on the show. And Punk Rock saying 2, Ariel saying 1.5, so I'm not gonna be as kind. I'm gonna have to say 1 star. It is one of the best versions of Android Nim, but just takes too long for every single android to animate. Let's see what our next title is. Alright, we're going to the Atari home computer next. This is Andromeda Conquest. Andromeda Conquest we've already seen on the Apple II last month, and it's a fairly average tactical strategy game. Let's see what it's like on the Atari, starting with the box. It looks like every single one. In fact, Avalon Hill, which does the publishing, they release these games across all over the world. Japan, and most of the boxes still look the same no matter where you go. So this one looks just like the Apple II. Looks like we're watching or doing something from 2001: A Space Odyssey. You flip it over the back, there's the example of the cassette. Armored space troopers move quickly from building to building to shattered building. The idea of this game is total galaxy domination. It is the very rare genre we see here in 1982, which is the 4X strategy genre. Can we eradicate everybody and take over everything in the whole galaxy? What else do we have for artwork besides the box? There's our cassette tape we're going to pop in, and I think this is the same one. Yeah, on one side was Apple II, and then there's the other side for this. So yeah, we've already checked out this version on the Apple II, but very briefly. Here's the manual for Andromeda Conquest. It is a massive manual because this is a massive game. You can see all the different versions that it's available for. I don't believe we're going to check out every single one because Avalon Hill does like to release their games on as many home computers as possible. You can see all the people that were involved with this one. Specifically, David Peterson did the majority of the design. It's a game in which 1 to 4 players compete to form galactic empires. These empires are formed by establishing new colonies in far-flung star systems and then defending them. The first player to hold 10 systems for an entire turn wins. So turn-based strategy game, you have to hold all 10 systems and you win. Pretty cool. So the genre is very rare right now. The only games we can think of that we've seen thus far have been like Galactic Saga and then Galaxy. There's going to be a really good write-up I'm going to include down below for links that the Wargaming Scribe did playing this game to give you a better understanding of what this is like, because here on Chronologically Gaming, we don't spend that long on games that take a long time to play, like this one. The game's played on a vast scale. The galaxy itself is made up of 12 to 48 star systems, depending on what you say. Each star system has unique attributes that strain life forms and alien technologies that make interstellar exploration exciting. If you want to call it exciting. If this is your cup of tea, you would be excited, but there are better and more impressive strategy games for strategy enthusiasts besides this one. As Emperor of your respective species, you have to consider your resources. Each player begins the game with a home planet and 10 resource points. As the game progresses, players accumulate more resources from their colonies. The trick is locating star systems with high resource values to colonize. More resources mean faster expansion is possible and defense is easier. Doesn't this sound amazingly complex? One of the very first ones we saw was the Galactic Saga. It blew me away. I couldn't believe that this scope of a game even existed. But here it is again in the form of Andromeda Conquest. So it breaks down the different scenarios you can play, how you go to different places of the galaxy because you have to type in the correct coordinates, where you begin your home systems, the different starship types you're going to pick from, the life forms because you have different species that you can play as in the game, and then all the different star systems. Everything has a system ID, type, life, technology because you're involving with different planets in the game. And then during your game turn, you have to allocate which resources are going to go where, which ships are going to go to which planets, how many resources are you going to take. You have to decide all this. In a way, it's a larger version of the managerial business simulation game. This one goes on an even grander scale. Definitely the 4X genre of video games. How you form your space fleets and fleet commands. There is, by the way, no real graphics. It's just like the Apple II. It's mostly ASCII graphics. So what you see on the screen is going to be coordinates, asterisks, pound symbols. Everything's done with text only, so there isn't any animation. This is not for the flashy faint of heart. You have to be into strategy games and wanting to take your units and distribute resources and manage things. That's what this game is all about. Yeah, you can see it's breaking down lots of different scenarios and how you move around because you have to know all the coordinates and commands, so you'll be keeping the manual by your side while you play the game. And then you have to establish colonies at the beginning of each turn. You have 3 different conditions for establishing colonies. And then there are combats, because when you play the game, you're going to be fighting against other people for resources. If you can get 3 other people right now in 1982 to play with you is the question. This is a genre that isn't picked up by everybody. And I'm sure most people here for the live stream or you're seeing the video later, if you're not a fan of this style of game, you wouldn't be into it. The majority are going to be arcade goers at this time in 1982. So we got combat and movement, and then they have the difference between the Commodore 64 version, which we haven't seen yet. So far it's just been the Apple II and then the Atari version here. And then they have the galactic mapping grid, playing multiplayer versus single-player games, and then how you can load it up in all the different versions. Look at this. There's the Atari version that we're going to be playing, and then the next one is the IBM. All right, so this one just has 2 different optional versions. Let's play the first one, playing Andromeda Conquest by Microcomputer Games. David Peterson did this one, majority of David Peterson, published by Avalon Hill at sometime in the beginning of 1982, October, for your Atari home computer. You gotta love that Avalon Hill has a splash screen for their company. A lot of video games, you don't see that as much, especially on home consoles. All right, so as we boot into the game, we're not going to be getting very far because this one requires you to have a manual. You also have to have paper on that you're marking down with everything, because this is a hybrid simulation or computer simulation, plus it's hybrid board game, or you have to use some pen and paper to do the work that you'll get in the box. So this one is almost impossible to play unless you have all the pieces. We got a little bit of a ditty there. Avalon Hill gave us something small. All right, number of players we want. Let's go ahead and go with just 2 this time. After you select the number of players, then player 1 chooses their life form. You can go with a, oh my gosh, what's a molluscan? I guess we have to consult the manual for that one. Let's go with, I'll be player 1, and I'll do avian, which is whatever life, I guess I'm flying around. And then last person in chat was GE Stream. GE Stream, let's have them pick as insectoid. And then stand by for galaxy creation, which means it's going to build the world for us. This is randomly generated every time you play. So you get some replayability, again, if you have people that want to play this game at the time. All right, so I sped through, fast-forwarded past the creation of the world, and here we are. Empire 1 statistics, what system we're in, the range and delta, and then over at the top right, you have how many ships, Echo, Rama, defense, colony, so it's giving us all the stats, and this is the graphics that you see the whole time in Andromeda Conquest. Over there on the left with all the asterisks, that tells us what system we're in, number 12. We have 10 resources to allocate, and we can establish a colony. We can't do it yet because I think we have to go to a colony first, so I'm going to say no. Oh, in, no. No. There. In for no. And then you have 10 resources. How many novas do we want to send out? So let's do 2. And now you're just making decisions very similar to other management simulations at the time. How many echoes? Let's do 5. Ramas, I don't think we have enough for it. Let's see. Okay, it worked. And then how much defense do we want? We have 1 defense. I think we can only do 1 right now. Yeah, not enough resources. So we'll have to do 0 because we have... The idea is you want to send your fleets to different colonies and then establish those colonies, and then from those colonies expand even further and further into the galaxy. If you're familiar with Galaxy, the other one that we've checked out, it's very similar gameplay to that. Errol's in the chat saying that's right up my alley. Yeah, so this, that's all we're going to play for Andromeda Conquest on the Atari home computer. I'm going to rate this just like we did when we played it on the Apple II. There are better strategy games out there, but this is pretty bare bones, right down the middle average video game for strategy enthusiasts right here in 1982. Yes, that's true, Earl. That's a good shout-out. Master of Orion? Definitely. All right, but that's not all. The other release of Andromeda Conquest came on the form of the IBM PC, which I always like to say it has more feelies than the other, but this one actually does not. Yeah, I'm already seeing a few ratings in the chat. For if this is your genre, you'd maybe rate it higher, but at this point, Andromeda Conquest is still average considering the other strategy games you could play. Curtis is actually going even higher than that. Does that mean, Curtis, you consider this better than Galaxy or a little bit less than Galaxy? The original Galaxy. So the box will look pretty familiar on the IBM PC. It's the same idea. You look on the back, this is the disc version that you'll have for IBM. And there we go. Hey, Jeff Quest, thanks so much for joining us. We're checking out Andromeda Conquest, the release on IBM PC for all the strategy fans. There it is. You need 48K in your IBM personal computer, which means roughly $2,000, maybe $2,500 to get the computer and all the expansions. And then the screenshots look familiar because it's pretty much the same as what we saw before. Same thing for the manual. Instructions haven't changed. They're the same ones here. Game design and Apple II version were by David Peterson. The Atari version was Paul Granicelli, which I didn't credit that when we played the Atari version. And then here on the IBM, it's David Quigit, if I pronounced that correctly. Same scenarios before. There are no differences between all the different ports, so I'm not going to go through the entire manual like we had before. All right, let's pop in and play some Andromeda Conquest. Microcomputer games published by Avalon Hill at sometime at the beginning of October 1982. Okay, so we're on the same, and I can understand that. Very similar gameplay, same genre too. So now you pick what randomness you want, which is kind of nice. I'm going to go with 17, as usual. Number of players, again, we can do max of 4. I'll do 2 players. Player 1, this time I'm going to choose humanoid. I will be human. Player 2, let's go with amphibian. No way. That's pretty cool. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I don't think we heard that tone on the Atari version. So salute to you, IBM PC. All right, player 1, hit any key. Oh, any key, I think. There you go. And it's playing the same thing again. Awesome. I can only think of one other time we've heard the Close Encounters of the Third Kind music. Very nice. So if this is familiar, it looks just like the Apple II, just like the version on the Atari home computer. We have a slightly better graphics of the stars, but we've showed up in system number 4. We want to establish a colony. We'll say no, and then you distribute your different resources, novas and echoes and ramas. Number of defenses, I'll say 0. Allocate resources, number of novas, 2, and then maybe 1. Okay, yeah, it's going to let us keep going. And then you can colonies variable. So I'm not going to play anymore. You essentially make the decisions of how many ships you want to send out, but you're not going to see any other graphics. All it's going to do is switch from one to the other. So like I said with the other versions we played on Andromeda Conquest, this is fairly average of all the games you can be playing right now on a home computer. It also takes a while to get into. You have to have the manual to consult what commands to do to send your ships out in fleets, and then make the decisions for resources. I know, right? Yeah, for everyone that's tuning in right now, there are much more ingenious, better games in 1982, and I am a little biased because whenever we play games of different genres, I'm considering the scope of everything you could play across all the computers, and you gotta admit, with all the computers, that's a heavy competition. And Andromeda Conquest is just fairly average. There we go. Yeah, Errol's even throwing out the same rating. Yeah, and Curtis is saying the same rating too. So there you go. That's Andromeda Conquest. Let's see what our next title is.
These families are learning about home
We're going back to the Atari home computer to check out Anti-Sub Patrol. I am not familiar with this one. Let's see what Anti-Sub Patrol is all about, starting with the box. Oh, very cool. Red alert. And there it is, sticker at the bottom right. It's the Atari 400, 800, or 1200 computer. We've started to enter the range of the Atari 1200. This is by Rockland Software. This one is the third game we've seen here on the show after Deluxe Invaders and Gorf. And those were pretty good, so I'm expecting Anti-Sub Patrol to be great too. Let's flip it over on the back. They got an example of a screenshot at the top. Anti-Sub Patrol is a tactical pursuit game where you, as head of a squadron of destroyer escorts, attempt to rid the waters of 2 submarines who at the same time are trying to destroy you. You start out with 3 destroyers under your command, which you deploy one at a time. Your goal is to find and destroy an enemy sub hidden somewhere in the display card. Display card, it sounds like bingo. Signal from Fleet Command, stand by for action. And there we go, it's from Illinois. Imagine that. Let's see if we have any other artwork for Anti-Sub Patrol. There we go, an ad from magazines. And it's Gorf at the top. And some other ones we haven't seen yet, like Midway's Wizard of War. And I think that's it. The only one we haven't seen from that is the Wizard of War, which I'm excited to see on an Atari home computer. That would be awesome. There's our 5 1/4 floppy disk to pop in. Still showing the 400, 800, and 1200. Oh, but it does have copyright 1983 on this version of the disc.
German, French, Italian.
I know, it's so weird and cool. I love it. We managed to track down the manual for this one too. Let's see how to play Anti-Sub Patrol. If you want to play on cassette, it shows you there, and how to play on disc. Make sure you have your disc drive if you're going to play. And this is what we have, the back of the box. We're equipped with sonar, a course finder, and unlimited depth charges. The subs, on the other hand, are capable of silent running, evasive maneuvers, or firing torpedoes. If everything began well, you should receive a standby signal from Fleet Command. You start off with 3 destroyers under your command, which you can deploy at any time. Your goal is to destroy and find enemy subs hidden somewhere on the display grid. Wait, display grid? It sounds like it's a snark hunt. But you can see on the screenshot, it's not quite the same. Use your joystick to maneuver your ship to a position from which you can sound out the enemy. Press the joystick button and begin the search. The bow indicator at the top represents the direction the ship is facing, and that direction on the sonar screen will be directed. Wow, lots of text to explain how to play it. You hear a series of beeps indicating the distance the sub is from your ship. The faster the beeps, the closer the sub is to you. You should also notice 2 arrows in the lower left screen. These indicate submarine's general area. So wait a second, does this mean we're playing essentially a modified version of Battleship? That's what it is. It's a screen or grid, and we're supposed to be finding the subs hidden on the grid. Or another title that we've seen for video games was Hidden in a Grid video games, where it literally is you searching around the grid. We saw those on consoles back in the late 70s. I'm thinking 79, though. So whenever your turn is over, you press the joystick button. If the sub's not close at all, parameters will be updated to reflect the current indications about the sub. If the sub spots enemy sonar, may appear at the top of the screen. If your ship's within torpedo range, they'll fire a torpedo. And you have a chance at evasive action. Use it to move 1 space in any direction except diagonally. So that means whenever you try to pinpoint where the sub is, like when you want to check for a battleship, if you're playing Battleship, it'll try to fire back, and then you have a chance to move out of the way. When you're 1 space from the sub's location, it'll say sub is in the area. So they're going to give us clues. It's almost like we're trying to find something hidden. And then if the submarine's blasted, it'll display submarine blasted on the screen. And this tells us what happens. We miss the submarine. There's also enemy mines that can be placed around. So you have to watch where you do those. And also there can be a reading of fish. Wait, what does that mean? We sonared fish, I guess. And then they break down the scoring right here. And that's just about it. I'm curious to see how this plays out. Let's pop in and play Anti-Sub Patrol. This is by Rockland Corporation at sometime at the beginning of October 1982. From the three sources I look up, Atari home computer games, I couldn't find the developer for this one. So if you happen to develop the game, drop me a line. Yeah, let's see if we need to blow up some subs. So this one is a one-player or two-player game. And I guess it's two-player. You can't really see anything on the screen, so it works for a pseudo battleship game. I'm going to do a one-player game and push start. And let's go. Oh, actually, I want to do this. There we go. Stand by. I bet they're hiding the subs right now. I know we've already played a few Battleship games here on the show, and some are okay, but to tell you the truth, the Battleship games are better played on the actual board game, not on the computer. So this is how this one pans out. So I'm listening as I move around. I don't hear anything different, though. Maybe I'm supposed to... Yeah, it says I'm doing a scan, and this is pretty cool that it's doing a point and select. I'm moving the joystick around, and it's responding on the grid to move the my pixel around and showing me which direction I'm going. Over here, the cross right by my shoulder. See, if I go south, it tells me I'm going south, but I don't hear any indication. At the top right is showing ships with the direction they are. Subpath. So it says 2 subs are here, but I don't hear any sonar sound. Let's go ahead and try pushing the red button and see what happens. We got a little tiny signal, but not much. It says we found a mine. Oh, really? So the sub's going to move. All right, we're back on patrol. So that means this is Battleship, but the Battleship is going in... It's moving directions. So while you're searching for something, they're going to continue to move. It's not stationary. It's Battleship, but they're moving. All right, let's try a different spot. Scan this spot. We got a faster beep. It says there's a mine there. Enemy search. Alert. We're just going by commands. They're going for torpedoes. I did an evasive move. Oh, okay. So they fired in the location close to me. I happened to do my evasive move into the torpedo. Okay, now the subs are moving again. Very, very tricky, though. Because if you know well, if you're playing with 2 people, I guess they could move around the grid and know where they're going to move. Let's try this one. Area is void. Enemy search. So now the sub gets their attack. Sub is moving. This is where they gives them a chance to fire torpedoes, and they got nothing. Okay, so let's try a different spot. So in a way, it's like a watered-down version of like a Hunt the Wumpus. They're giving you signals of where things are, but I guess in the Wumpus, it's not moving. This one is a moving target. So interesting idea for a strategy game, though. I like it. Yeah, it's like Battleship, and to tell you the truth, this one is playing better than the other Battleship versions for home computers. Patrol 1. I'm going to try a different one. It's giving us indication that it's south. So look at the symbols. Enemies now searching. They're going to fire torpedoes. Let's do evasive action to the left. Darn, I picked the wrong way again. My evasive action made me get hit, and I lost a ship. Okay, the sub's moving. So you can look at the top. That's the number of lives. Only got 1 left. Let's try it again. They said they were south, so let's see. Oh, it's getting closer, or the beep's getting faster. Enemies searching now. We're clear. The sub's moving. Okay, let's try right here. Yep, the beep's getting a little faster. Enemy searching. We're on alert now. Torpedoes, evasive action, north. Yes, I dodged it that time. The evasive move worked. So cool concept. It's Battleship, but it's adding different elements, and it works great for a home computer. When we played the home computer Battleships, it's really difficult if you know, unless you want to cover the screen. So, you cover the screen so you can't see it when you play with someone else. I know, I love all the bleeps and bloops. That's pretty fun. I'm going to stop there. I like that. It's a cool idea, interesting concept, and it plays all right for the games we've seen so far. I'm going to say, because of the slow paced nature of it, I can't say it's above average. I mean, it is different because there's nothing that's like this, but the way that it's presented is a little slower and it's a little clunkier than most other computer games. I'm already seeing, yeah, 3.5 from 2007. Yeah, and then manually showing 3. So mostly averages coming from the chat right now. Of all the computer games right now, this is an above average idea, but the way it's presented is not nearly as good. Curtis is actually seeing 3.5. Punk Rock is 3. So I'm actually going to go 3 stars. Very average game for the time, just because of how it's presented. But the idea that you have Battleship may be able to move ships around, playing a two-player game would be really fun.
The Atari family is learning.
Yeah, there you go. Ariel saying 3 too. All right, so there's Anti-Sub Patrol. Let's see what our next title is. Here we go. Let's play some Arcade Machine on our Atari home computer. Another title we've already seen on the Apple II back in June 1982. Let's see what the Atari version's like. This is where you can create your own arcade games. No programming knowledge are needed. By Chris Jokumsen, Doug Carlson, and Louis Ewens. Oh, I love the front of the box, though. It's all the arcade action flying out of your computer screen. So cool. Looks like we got a tank and then 2 versions of possibly the Death Star there with a fighter jet down the bottom. Nice, with Superman flying out. So this is possibly the later version of the box because it says the XL series. You can use the arcade machine to develop your own original arcade games like these. And we're going to explain when we get to the manual. That's the whole point of the game. Such a cool idea. What other artwork do we have for the Arcade Machine? This is by Broderbund. Another one. And some sources told me that this version possibly was released very early 1983. But I got a couple that said here in the beginning of October is when the Arcade Machine on the Atari came out. Yeah, there you go. An ad from magazines at the time, or the part of the catalog of Broderbund. Did you ever wish you could design and program your own fast-action arcade game? Now you can. I know, right? This would be a great investment. Really, really fun. Oh, do we have anything else besides the ad? Oh, there we go. We just have the 5 1/4 floppy disk. We're going to put in our Atari with an example of the screenshot. Now, you will need a manual for this one. Big time. There's a lot to break down. I mean, look at this. 84 pages are part of this manual. We're not going to go through the whole manual. Don't worry. I'll just show you what you can do. You have to have patience, concentration, and a creative eye, but you don't have to know how to program. Even better when you learn how each part of the arcade game design and try a complicated arcade game instantly. You can try your hand at animation. See 2 screen seconds later, Arcade Machine was designed as a teaching tool as well as a creativity aid that allows you quick feedback at every step of the way. Ultimately, your finished games will include 5 levels of play, dozens of animated shapes, features, objects of your own design, along with the paths you've created, colorful detailed backgrounds drawn by you, your own arcade-style sound effects, scoring rules, and game options are all selected by you, and custom title page with a large... So this is allowing you to do a lot of different options. Now, when we do this on a live show, I'm just going to do one thing because we don't have as much time, but this has so many possibilities of things you can do in the game. It's great. It's not entirely free-form, extraordinarily flexible, and permit the creation of truly astonishing variety of games. Now, the manual is extremely long. It explains everything on how you can change the game up, but I'm just going to go in and explain more. But yeah, without delay, let's begin. We'll just go right to the game. Here we go. This is 2 sides to the disc. Let's pop in and play the Arcade Machine by Broderbund Software at some time in the beginning of October 1982 for your Atari home computer. Oh, I know. I would have loved this. This is so good. All right, so starting off, we're going to speed through the beginning because there's like a little load. There we go. Okay, so just a little quick fast forward. But when you begin the game, it starts just like this. It's like we're playing Space Invaders. So look, I can move it on the bottom of the screen. I have a 1 button for my fire, and I'm just playing the game. So here you go. You're like, it goes right into the base game. And it did this on the Apple II as well. I really like the start field in the background. That's pretty cool. And then whenever you want to, let's say we want to change the game. Let's just hit the other button we have, and then we're at the main menu. And here you have all the different options. You can create a game disc, which is after you finish all the options, you can save it as a new game. But I'm just going to show you one of the things you can do on all these things. Let's do Shape Creator. Ready? And so I'm going to push number 1. You see there's Path Creator, the design of where the enemies are going to go. All right, so we can do Create and Edit Shapes, and I want to do that. And then now we can do shapes, explosions, so you can change the way the explosions are, and then you have tanks, and then the way the tank explodes, or your character. So I'm going to go to tanks, and then let's do tank at the bottom, so I'm going to do that, and then here it is. It's showing you the different animations, or each part, and let's say you don't like the look of the ship at the bottom, and you're like, I want to change the way the ship looks. You can real time just go in using the joystick. I'm doing all this on the joystick, and say, I just want to make the ship look different. I don't like the way the ship looks. Let's change it up. And you can draw real time using point and select with the joystick and change the way the ship looks. I don't know if that necessarily makes it look better, but there we go. And I also don't like how the top is. Let's change that. And they, of course, give you color options. You know, you can change. But let's make it look more tankish. And then I want to make a laser on the side there. And over here on this side, there we go. Okay, so I like that. It's larger, and it's the way I want to do it. We want to save it to memory? Yes, we do. And we want it to save to the bottom. Okay, so now we want to return to our main menu, and return to the other main menu, and then run the game. And then just like that, that fast, look, our tank at the bottom, or our cannon, our ship, is updated and changed. And that's just one example of the things you can do, but there's so many possibilities. It's so cool. And the fact that it does it all using the Atari VCS joystick here, I would give this a slight nod over the Apple II. That's really, really cool that you have that level of control, because you can use the Apple joystick on the Apple version, but I mean, using this on the Atari, using with the Atari joystick is awesome. I know, right? Yeah, I'd love to see the tutorials of what games people have made for this, because it's really, really good. Now, this kind of game where you can program or design your own games is not new. A few examples we've already seen here on the show have been Robot War by Silas Warner, the Dark Castle game system where you can design your own dungeons, and then educational titles. You know, we've seen Rocky's Boots already on the show, and Gore-Tech. So this idea isn't like super fresh, but the way that this is presented is awesome. I gotta say, of all the games right now on a home computer, just like on the Apple II, this is one of the best computer games you could play. I'm gonna say 4.5 stars, because you're not just playing the game, you are designing every part of the shooter that you would want. I'm looking over in the chat, we got lots of 4s out there. Curtis is with me with 4.5. Yeah, so I see Manly with 4s. Yeah, it's still excellent. It's a must-buy, I would say, for the shooter arcade fans that are out there. It's so much fun. And the other thing, too, is this show cannot do the whole thing justice, because there's so much that you can modify and change to your liking. It's great. That's right, Jimmy. It's based on how creative are you. You can do the sky's the limit. It's awesome. So much fun. All right, that's where we got to put our video game playing on pause, or creativity on pause. Next time on Chronologically Gaming, we're going to play a strategy game you haven't heard of, and some more Arrow of Death. That's it for today, and like I always say, we are unveiling the darkness across all video gamedoms, one game at a time. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every weekday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and let us know if we missed any games along the way. This video would not be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and MAME. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every single video game. We have links down below that'll send you to places like our Discord and Patreon, and one that says all the video games we've ever played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.